Hello folks and welcome to Friday's Hi-Fi News etc. And what have we got for you this time around? Well, I have a trivia question for you which you can have in a sec, and after that we've got some Hi-Fi news, and then there is a YouTube viewer question, and then I'll give you the answer to the trivia question. Speaking of which, here it is. Now, for the last couple of Friday videos we've had a sort of geography theme. This time I'm going to go more general studies, I suppose you might say, and I'm going to look at a name that's been used twice. First time by a duo in the UK, a psychedelic duo in the late 60s. The same name though was later adopted far more successfully by America's most popular band of the late 80s and early 90s. Question is, what's the name? One more time, this name was used in Britain by a psychedelic duo of the late 60s. It was later adopted far more successfully by America's most popular band of the late 80s and early 90s. What's the name? And as ever, no Googling on this one, please. Have a little think. I will give you the answer at the end of this video. Hi-Fi News. And first up, we're going to talk about Wharfedale and the Dovedale speakers from that company, which are being reissued, you might say, in the company's Heritage series. Now, the Dovedale speakers were named after a valley in England's Peak District. Yes, Dovedale, if you didn't know, is a place. And the first Dovedale speaker was launched in 1965 as an updated version of Wharfedale's W2. It was originally, the old Dovedale, a two-way design, but was later adapted to a three-way with a separate bass, mid-range and treble drivers. Now, there were several versions of the Dovedale during the 60s and the 70s. This re-engineered Dovedale, it takes its inspiration more from the Dovedale 3, and there was a corresponding Unit 5, a kind of build-at-home kit. So it's a combo of that, really. The new speaker's cabinet is a bit taller, a little bit wider and far deeper than the standard production Dovedale 3, but it's kind of similar in size to the homebrew kit version. For this new iteration, you'd get a 10-inch 25cm bass driver, a 5-inch 13cm mid-range driver, and those incorporate woven Kevlar. The mid-range unit is housed in its own internal enclosure, which helps vibration. The 25mm fabric dome treble unit has a ceramic magnet, and that is featured throughout Wharfedale's Heritage series. But here it's been further improved by incorporating, again, a rear chamber. For the crossover, well, the crossover components have been laid out on twin PCBs with spacing to avoid electromagnetic interference. And as for the sensitivity, because I know that's important to many of you, you're looking at 89 decibels. For the cabinet, there's an inner layer of high-density particle board, and that's bonded to an outer layer of MDF by an interlayer, a middle bit, of high damping glue. Both the mid-range unit and treble unit are offset on the front baffle. Why? Well, to scatter reflections from the cabinet edges. Finally, Wharfedale has designed a pair of floor stands to match the new Dovedale, with an open frame made of carbon steel and furniture-grade glass inserts at the top and the bottom. All bar one of the uprights are filled with damping material. The other allows for cable management. Finished in walnut veneer, the price is £5,500 per pair, and that includes the matching floor stands. The speakers and the stands, well, you can, if you really want to, buy them separately. And if you do, you're looking at £5,000 for the speakers on their own and £800 for the stands. If you want to know more, I will put a link down below, as I will with all items mentioned in this video. Next up, we've got a flagship box from Melco, Melco Audio's 1S38. This is a SSD-based digital music library based around a new platform. It's a sort of ground-up thing with a new chassis and casework using a 3mm stainless steel base plate to minimize unwanted vibration. Oh, and there are new power supplies included. Handmade in Japan and available in black or silver, this is a full-width design and includes a new set of system electronics, a new mainboard, plus new mains transformer and local regulators. The 1S38 includes an audio-specific custom 3.84 terabyte SSD drive, and that includes a layered rigid SSD mounter and is directly connected to the data path without any intervening RAID controller. Onboard memory is increased as well. The front panel includes an OLED display. You also get, how do you pronounce this, ephemeral USB ports. These are rather high quality, far more rugged variants of your standard socket from what I can see anyway. Also, the Melco concept of a dedicated player port for direct connection to network players is now enhanced by the Nutric RJ45 connectors. Oh, and the LAN port, that's also been upgraded. This new model supports a switchable 10 MHz external clock input, which is a first for a Melco music library. You also get a high-capacity power transformer, which is mounted on its own sub-chassis. Now, all of this goodness comes at a price. This is a high-end product. You're going to get a high-end price. So this one will cost you £11,999 or €14,000. Next up, we have a series of subwoofers from ELAC. The new Varo series from ELAC combines three subwoofer lineups. They are the premium, the reference and the dual reference variants, and in total you're looking at 7 different subwoofers. So this is just a quick overview of the whole lot. And let's start with the premium series. The premium series includes 3 models: the PS250BK at €749. All these prices are in euros. That's the only price points I have. The PS350BK is €849 and the PS500BK is €1,049, all with different dimensions and amplifier outputs and driver sizes. They utilize, for example, 10, 12 and 15-inch drivers respectively, which is paired with a large magnet and housed in a bass reflex cabinet. They are driven by what's called BASH technology, which basically means bridged amplifier switching hybrid, to deliver either, again, 250 watts, 350 or 500 watts respectively. And they can all be controlled via the ELAC Sub-Control 3.0 app. Next up is the reference series, and there are 2 models, the RS500B at €1,299 and the RS700B at €1,499. In the reference series, they use 10-inch and 12-inch drivers respectively, along with hex technology for, as the company has it, and I quote, greater linear excursion and even lower distortion. They offer sealed cabinets constructed from 30mm thick MDF, paired with either 500 watt or 700 watt BASH amplifiers. Again, there's that Sub-Control 3.0 app. And finally, there's the dual reference series. There are two in this lineup. There's the DS1000GB at €2,499, or there's the DS1200GB at €2,799. These models feature two drivers with hex technology, which are installed opposite to one another in an impulse compensated configuration. This means that mechanical forces inside the sealed cabinet, which is made of 36mm thick MDF, effectively cancel each other out. The pairs of 10-inch or 12-inch drivers combined with bash amplifiers rated at either 1000 watts or 1200 watts respectively. Again, I'll put a link below if you'd like to know more. That's your hi-fi news. Let's go to viewers' questions. And we have a question from Anshul Tripathi 4504. I'm going to call you Anshul. Hello, Anshul. And Anshul says, great video. Well, thank you very much, Anshul. Question between the AT-LP5X and RP1. Fire away. I don't need the USB and phono feature as I have an external phono amp. Very wise. Which one would you recommend for the best sound quality? The last time I checked on my local market, AT-LP5X was $50 to $100 cheaper than the RP1 and looks like great value. However, I do see that you have mentioned the RP1 is better in terms of sound quality. Okay, sound quality only? Well, the Rega edges it. This is true. Saying that though, the LP5X is a good sonic performer and I would happily live with it. Now if cash is tight, well, you won't be disappointed with the LP5X. I rate it highly, and actually it's easier to use than the Rega, because with the Rega, if you change speeds, you've got to move the belt from one little slot in the pulley to another. With the LP5X, well, you just twist a knob. Also, the LP5X will offer you 78 RPM play if you're into that side of things. But I repeat, purely on sound and sound alone, go for the Rega. And that's basically it, folks. But before we go, let's look at that trivia answer. And to remind you, the question was, this name, and it's a name we're after, folks, this name was used in Britain by a psychedelic duo of the late 60s. It was later adopted far more successfully by America's most popular band of the late 80s and early 90s. What's the name? And the answer is Nirvana. The original Nirvana was created by Patrick Campbell-Lyons and Alex Spyropoulos in London in the mid-60s, and their early recordings on the Island label had many admirers. By the time the Kurt Cobain-led band of the same name became the most popular act on the planet in the early 90s, the original group had reformed. They eventually reached an agreement with Cobain about the name and shelved their plans for releasing an album called Nirvana Sings Nirvana. And now you know. Now before you go, if I could ask you to click on the like and subscribe buttons just down there somewhere, and that would be very nice of you indeed. Also, further down in the description there are those links I mentioned, plus other links to my social media platforms, including my Facebook group, which you're welcome to join, my website, and also my Patreon page, which includes all kinds of exclusive stuff, videos and buyer's guides and hi-fi tour and all kinds of things. Anyway, check it out. It also helps to fund this channel. So it's doing good. I'll be back on Sunday with a review and I hope you can join me then. It's going to be, well, I'll surprise you, but it'll be a nice one. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. Hope to have your company as well. And until then, folks, bye-bye for now.